Let's talk about beanies today. Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to show you today how to make a beanie. It's super easy, super quick. Here are just some of the ones that I've made so far using exactly the same technique. Before we start, a few things to note. In this tutorial, I use quite chunky yarn. Therefore, the stitch count and the row count is made specifically for this kind of yarn. If you use anything that's smaller or bigger, you might have to adjust your stitch count as well as the width of the beanie, so how many rows you do. If you're using different kind of yarn, my recommendation for initial chain is so it should fit from the top of the head, so the crown here, to the top of your front lip. So that's how long your initial chain should be, and that takes into consideration the little fold of the beanie as well. Another thing I would recommend is to test the width of the beanie as you go. So you don't want it to be too tight, but you don't want it to be too loose either. You want it to be in that perfect snuggly state. And lastly, just have fun with it. So let's jump into this tutorial. For this tutorial, all you need is one ball of yarn. My preference for beanies is this Paintbox Wool Mix Aran, which comes in medium for weight. You need a crochet hook that is appropriate for the yarn that you're using. For this particular yarn, I will be using 5mm hook. You will need a tapestry needle and of course tapestry scissors. To start your beanie, you want to go ahead, make a slip knot and chain 48. I have a chain of 48 here. We're going to start working on the first row. Chain 1, this is your turning chain, and do 6 single crochets. So I have 6 single crochets here. For the rest of the chain, we're going to be doing half double crochets. I'm going to finish the rest of the chain off camera. I just finished the row with the last double crochet. Now we're going to be working row 2 and we're going to start creating a ribbing on the beanie as well. Chain 2, turn your work, and instead of working half double crochet through both stitches, we're just going to be working in the back loop only, and that is what creates ribbing. So half double crochet, back of the stitch only. And we're going to be working 42 half double crochets, back loop only, until we get to those single crochets that we created at the beginning of row 1. You can see here what the ribbing will look like. So I've done 42 half double crochets. You want to make sure that you definitely have 6 last stitches left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 single crochets left to do. It can be sometimes a bit confusing. You can't really see the difference between the two of the stitches. So what you can do is just pop a stitch marker on the last single crochet you do. It just makes it a little bit easier to see. So that was my last half double crochet. So now I'm going to be working single crochets still in the back loop only. Okay, so that's 6 finished. The reason why we're doing single crochets on this side of the rows rather than doing half double crochets like everywhere else is because this part will be used to cinch the beanie in together, which means that there's a little bit less yarn, it's a little less bulky, and it's a little bit easier to cinch it together, but you'll see it later in this tutorial. So that's basically what you need to do now until you achieve the desired width of your beanie. So you need to work 6 single crochets, 42 half double crochets, always working in the back loop only, and I will check in with you when I achieved all of my rows. So I've done 42 rows and this is the width of the beanie that I'll be making. I find that 42 rows with this sort of chunky yarn is perfect for a normal sized beanie. We're going to put both of the sides together and we're going to be single crocheting all along the beanie to combine it together. The easiest way to get the yarn onto the right side of the beanie, I like to pull it through the first stitch here and then pull through the loop chain one to sort of secure it in place, and do a single crochet exactly in the same stitch, just so it's consistent across, and then marry these up as much as possible. And as I said, single crochet all along to secure the beanie in place. If you're struggling to marry the stitches up, I would say pop a stitch marker at the beginning and the end of the beanie to make sure that they don't move around and then they are definitely aligned. Just finished single crocheting all across, and now we have this really lovely tube. I also always like to chain one at the end. Okay, so that's now nice and secured. Now we're going to work on cinching this together. So take the same yarn as before and cut a little length off. Take your tapestry needle, count 3 stitches from the top and just weave your yarn through like so. And we're going to be using this to cinch in the top of the hat and create the shape of a beanie. Doesn't have to be super neat. No one's going to see it anyway. So like so. All around until you get to the end. And what you're going to do, you're going to just push it and sort of cinch it all in nice and tight, and I'll do a couple of knots. And another one. I always like to double check what it looks like. Okay, looks nice and good. And just to make sure it doesn't unravel, we're going to use the ends of this yarn. I just like to go through the little cinched bit and tighten it even more, just to make sure that it doesn't unravel and there's no holes in the beanie and it's nice and tight and looks nice and cute. Okay, sort of all different directions as well. It doesn't have to be one. Let's do one more here. And then I always like to end up coming back to the beginning where the other side of the yarn is. Tighten it. And then do a couple knots again. Tighten a little bit more. Couple knots again. And now I'm just going to weave these ends into the beanie. However you prefer to weave your ends in. I just do it through the stitches here, down the side. Just a little bit. That's enough there because it's nice and secure here already. And snip it off. I always like to tie them together once again for that extra security that it definitely won't unravel. But you have to remember that if you turn the beanie inside out, then this is the proper way that it's going to look like. So you have to be careful weaving in the ends. You don't do it on the outside so it's really visible. And then once again up, kind of like a zigzaggy sort of thing, and then snip it off. And this is the finished project. Here we have the finished beanie, and this is what it looks like on. It is perfect and it fits me like a glove, or like a beanie should. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave any questions that you have in the comment section, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Bye.